All right, Zig coming in at the top. Today on the show, we have Austin Stambaugh, but not all these are capable to be done as a solo interview. So with me, I have Gabriel Xavier.
Hello.
And Austin's a mutual friend. And I don't really know how we should do this intro because we both have kind of like different introductions to him. Like I met him working at Guitar Center.
Yeah, well, what's funny about it is you told me about this guy who loved the Clash and like plays country, and he used to be in this rock band. And then I was at a party with our friend Henry, and I met this guy who worked at Guitar Center, and he said he loved the Clash, and I was like, "Holy shit, you're that guy Dave was talking about." He's like, "Yeah, I love Dave." Like, and so we just started talking and immediately hit it off.
I love when stuff like that comes full circle. Like when Cody and Jay met you and Henry
Yeah,
in your apartment on Friday, like off of on Friday. But like when these two worlds clash and like they're two friend groups and you
no
don't
pun
know how
intended.
pun intended, 100% pun intended. But you don't know how they're going to interact. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
It's so cool. And I remember that happened. Like, was that a Christmas thing?
No, it was
Okay.
Andrew Yadon from Sleepyheads.
Oh. Okay, okay. I don't. I think maybe it had to be after that because I remember giving Austin the sweater and with a Clash pin, and he told me he met you. He's like, I met your friend Gabe, and I wore that Clash pin, like, which
Yeah.
is a very Austin like thing to point out.
Right.
Um, but all that being said, Austin's like this magical human, and he finds inspiration out of anything. And you can be talking with him, and he can point out two words that don't mean anything, but when he says them, there's suddenly they're highlighted, and the with inspiration and like beauty, whereas before they were just two words on a page. And Gabe, you have a film coming out eventually.
Yeah.
Not on the cusp of anything right now. Like once you pitch it to some festivals, but Austin is the star lead of the film. So what about Austin kind of brought out this character for you?
I think it was that kind of magic. And also, it takes place over the pandemic, and I was, really inside myself and bored as fuck, and I kept listening to Austin's music, and it kind of and thinking about him as a person, and that would kind of pull me out of that mundanity. And I was like already working on the script about a family during a pandemic, and they were kind of going through the same things, and I was like, oh, the Austin needs to be the character to pull them out of it. So I really wrote the part for him, and I felt kind of weird about it. Like if he were to find out about that, like if he would be think it was strange that I wrote a character for him, and like you know everything is so Austin in the script. And he asked me, he was like, "Hey Gabe, is was this written for me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
That's how he would handle that though. Like that's the most Austin.
Someone else would be really freaked out by that, like,
Right.
"Oh, you know me too well," or
Are you making fun of me?
right, right.
These bits. The film's called Springfish, and this is the first installment, quote unquote, right? Of the
Potentially,
potentially. All right. That's good. It's good to keep it lingering.
right. Keep it a mystery for now.
Keep it a mystery.
I like to keep what's coming next a secret.
Bum, bum, bum. See, if I was allowed to play with my sound effects, you know how cool that'd be? But what we're doing, November 13th at the Winchester, we have a film to sell a film. We have a show to celebrate the completion of Springfish, and it features all the music that's in the film or the bands that are on the bill. It's going to be Austin Stambaugh, Lowercase Roses, and Sea Level, and it's coming right after the first like showing of the film for the crew, which isn't a premiere; it's just a showing of the film. And this show got looped into a chain of other shows for a week-long benefit for my friend Amy Baker, who's a teacher I work with. She had some pregnancy complications, and she had to induce labor early, and her kid's in the NICU right now. So And this is for any of my friends who are listening or reoccurring, or maybe who know Austin or Gabe, and we're part of the Dog for Diego fundraiser. This is Diego's teacher. So this is a lady who goes over and beyond for all her students, even while pregnant, even while everything else is melting and there's COVID, and now the classroom structure is beyond easy. She's always gone over and beyond to make sure all her students got what they need, and has reached out to every other teacher that would work with them and made sure they knew exactly how this kid ticks, thinks, and where they need to go. So what we're doing is a week-long concert series, in person and streamed, called Knitting for the NICU, an Amy Baker benefit. And right now there's 21 bands and like 7 live artists, so there's more. And there's going to be an announcement here with all the acts on what days they're coming out. And like it started off as just 19, so now it's like over 20. And it's happening at 4 different venues: Monday night at the Winchester, Tuesday at the Beachland Ballroom, Wednesday at the Coda, Thursday at the Beachland Tavern, Friday at the B-side, and taking it back to this show, November 13th at the Winchester. So, Gabe, I'm more than honored that you would let this be part of such crazy of a fundraiser I'm putting together,
Of course.
and backing all my crazy ideas. And so that's the angle of the show. So if there's anything, if you can't make it to the Winchester because you're lame, you can check it out on any of the other days and check out another cool show. But the Winchester's going to be the one to be at. And when you hear our conversation with Austin and hear how inspiring of a person he is, you're going to want to be around him as well. So
All the time.
all the time,
Non-stop. I'm following him around right now.
right now.
I think he's going on tour too this coming weekend. So if
Is he?
anyone's in Asheville, I think it's November 6th.
Okay.
Go to Austin's Instagram.
Right. He's been posting. He's got these really cool collage flyers he makes. As far as a recommendation before listening to Austin talk, I can't help but recommend his spoken word album, which you recommend to me. Gabe.
Yeah.
And and that's actually one of those poems are in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one of the poems in the film, and then 2 of his songs from Where She Will Go, which is probably my favorite of his recordings. And then a new song he hasn't released yet, and then a song he recorded especially for the film.
And he did it on the spot.
He did it
right?
on the spot. Yeah, in the script it said Austin writes a song at a table, and yeah, he just did it, and it's the best part of the film.
It's so cool. And like I remember you sent me the song, and like then I'm like, oh, that's that's a cool written song. I can hear Austin writing that. And then you were like, but he wrote it while on camera, and like that's a
Yeah.
whole nother level, because like there's an audio cut of it, right, which is like afterwards.
Yeah, we liked it so much, and we were thinking about like a lot of westerns from the 30s to 50s, and how they all have these kind of themes that are usually the title of the song or title of the film, and we were like, oh yeah, that's like Thunder Road or something. We gotta do that and make a silly like
Credit thing.
yeah with an actual recording. So we recorded it in the bathroom.
Yeah, because this whole thing was shot in your dad's house.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, I wasn't there for the recording of the song. We were setting up another scene, so I kind of had to trust Kevin Shand, our sound recorder, to make sure that it was great.
I think me and Cody might have wore Kevin out a little bit.
He thought you guys were funny.
I think we bothered him.
No, not at all. I think he laughed more that day than the entirety of the filming.
Because our acting was so comedic.
Yeah. The bits between the acting too are great.
That was a ton of fun. But yeah, that's just the beauty of Austin, is he can just like whip something together like that, and it's like listening to that song. Like, actually, can we play that song now?
Yeah.
with your skin so gold, swimming around your tiny little bowl, chirping your bubbles on the surface so high, and diving back down to the rocky side. You're younger than spring with your mind so free. Each moment you are living for your anniversary, unaware of the shadow that you cast below. I'm watching you grow older, there must be something that you know. Show me where to lay my head, show me where do I go. Do you only just forget, or do you not care to know? For a long time I've been swimming just like you. My world is confined to one little point of view. Do I really have to swim so far to ever truly know? Am I better off where I am? Am I better staying home? Spring fish live all winter neath the ice and frozen snow, and warm weather brings them many places near to go. Is the distance I have traveled equal to the distance lost? What's the price of my wandering, and is it worth the cost? Show me where to lay my head, and show me where do I go. Do you only just forget, or do you not care to know?
But yeah, it's crazy that he was able just to write that, and like because it has a larger narrative of like I feel like maybe where he was at, and but he puts in context of this fish, and like it fits the narrative of the film, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers
Ties
to it that are like that blew my mind. There's also little dialogue bits he improvised too, which kind of gives some stuff away. But yeah, it was apparent that he was thinking about the themes of the film, even when he was acting, and kind of like pulling stuff out of midair and just kind of inserting it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, with that, if you guys can like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on all the podcast platforms, it helps me keep talking to cool guests like Austin and sharing those inspirations with you. And if you can make any effort, even if it's just sharing the live streams that happen during the Knitting for the NICU benefit, it's going to go a long way. I forgot also what we're doing is we're collecting knitted goods. So we're collecting knitted and crocheted, mostly crocheted, because Amy made a crochet pattern for these things called Hope Hearts. And what a Hope Heart is, there's two of them, and they're for parents at the NICU. One stays with the baby, and one goes with the parent. So especially during times like now where COVID, and you can't always be in the hospital, you can always have a piece of your loved one with you, and they can always have one with them. So this benefit, 90% of it's going to help Amy and her cause or her cost, and like 10% is going to make Hope Hearts to leave at the NICUs around Cleveland. We're also collecting crocheted and knitted hats and bootsies and blankets for babies in the NICU. So if you guys know anyone who knits, or if you can just even share some of this podcast or some of the streams that happen, and they'll be happening from all the artists, and everything is linked below. Austin's info is linked below. It's going to go a long way, and we're going to help a family out, so that'd be great. And with further ado, Austin.
Stambaugh.
What are you doing? What's the work?
What am I doing?
Yeah,
I have to work at Ernest Tubb Record Shop.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta work at 8. I have to work until 8, and then I have to buzz over to Betty's Bar on the west side and play in a little show at this dive bar, this kind of local staple place, and it'll be cool.
All right, that's cool. Was it? It's interesting. I think that's a good place to start. Is like we met when you started working at Guitar Center with
Yeah.
and like I find it interesting that's like a record store sounds like a cooler version of it. Like, is it?
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it's like a retail thing, but it's also, there's no like sales. You don't have to make sales or anything. And where I work too, almost feels like It's like a community help. I just feel like I'm there. I just it feels like good work. It's a historic place, and I feel happy to even be in there.
That's awesome. It's kind of because I wanted Guitar Center to be that. And
Hmm.
like I think the beauty of it was like meeting you and meeting other friends like Dan McGann and like
Yeah.
some of the other guys that stuck around. But it really felt like it kind of was trying to not be as communal. You know what I mean? Like all these guys played music, but we never played together when we worked at Guitar Center.
Right, yeah, and that's also funny because like all your coworkers are super into metal,
Right. Well,
I like metal too, but
yeah,
I don't,
you're fascinating, Austin, because you like everything.
hell yeah,
Like I know now it's the music you do is a little more like Americana and country and folk and like songwriting headed, but like
yeah,
before I feel like with a band like the Shawns,
yeah,
can you open up the story of the Shawns?
yeah, yeah. Thanks for asking me about it. First of all, I don't know if there's any grooves that we got to put words in, but I will say Dan McGann deserves to be in a groove for sure.
Definitely.
He is a staple, one of my greatest friends, and everyone should know him. And he works at the Oberlin Apollo right now as the GM. So you should go
Oh,
there if you're
nice.
in Oberlin, swing by and see a movie on him. But I know I probably shouldn't say that. But so yeah, the Shawns, yeah, it was a high school band. I was 15 years old, and I just really wanted to play my Epiphone Les Paul as fast and as hard as I could. And it went through various incarnations. Like we did a little EP with like Ante Up, or then that turned into the Analog Arcade. It was out on Superior. And then I think that it closed down, and Jim Stewart produced and recorded all that stuff. And then then we all got girlfriends, and then we tried to get back together with our buddy Ty Place, who was a drummer in a hardcore band. So we had like a hardcore drummer, and like our second album would have been dark as hell. But we unfortunately only have basement recordings of the second album, and no words really. I just was singing about whatever, just making it up, going with it. And yeah, so that was about the Shawns. And so far, my dad to this day thinks that that's the greatest music that I ever made.
That's a well. Your dad's a guitar guy, right?
He is, yeah.
Real deal, dude. Marshall
He
Stack.
is. Les Paul Marshall Stack, yeah. My dad's friend Dave used to always say that, and I wrote a little story about it. And it's funny because like it's like rippling effect because everyone that I know like seems to pick it up. They'd be like, man, like they say something's badass. They're like, man, this is Les Paul and Marshall Stack.
Yeah,
Man, that was
it's fucking
that,
hilarious. Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's such a simple, but that's cool. You know what I mean? Les Paul and Marshall. That's an easy way to like kind of. I think that's a cool tagline, my dude.
yeah,
In the realm of like kind of what we were saying of being into everything, I wanted to talk to you about when we first met at that party. And I remember we started talking about the Clash, and somehow we got into talking about like magic mushrooms and Chelsea
yeah.
boots and Towns Van Zandt, and like we were only hanging out a couple hours, but we like talked about everything. So there's this kind of like, and I mean this in a positive way, but like a dilettantism of just kind of like being open to everything. And I don't know, does that affect your songwriting? This kind of like openness to everything. If you
Yeah,
want to talk about that.
yeah, it does. I wouldn't say I have a clear map on what affects or what is pushing my songwriting or something, but a lot of it is just like a headspace. Like for instance, like I just got this Reader's Digest book from my friend. It's about like the ancient Aztecs, and he like gave it to me because he knows that I make collage art. And it's been a little while since I've done anything like that. But so basically, I was like, I had to like use the bathroom yesterday whenever I got home, and I almost did the old refrain of, "Oh man, where's my phone?" And I was just gonna, go to the bathroom, like be on my phone, and then like everyone does, But then I was like, you know what? It's 1:30 in the morning. It's all good. So I just like went in the bathroom with this Reader's Digest like coffee table book about the Aztecs, and then I was reading this paragraph about this ancient civilization that it was like a lot of people are trying to figure out how they ate food because there's no real I don't know, like the way things were like buried in the ground, like it didn't have like archaeologists were like, oh, they must have just eaten fish, because it was like by the ocean, and then or by the lake or whatever, and then the other historian guy was like, no, they didn't eat that, they ate this, and then just thinking about that was like kind of interesting because I would have never ever thought about that in my life, and it kind of like I guess it kind of paved a way for like a form, like a kind of a form of writing. You're like, wow, like where did it come from? Well, we think this, and then that's almost more inspiring than trying to listen to a King Crimson album with all your lights off in your room or something like that. It's like just as
Yeah.
inspiring.
You have that lyric where you say, I think it's like the more I know, or the less I know, the less I
The
weigh. Or
yeah, the less I know, the lighter I am.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but then I still wonder why.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well,
I,
that's beautiful to find like kind of like inspiration what you don't think would that's like pure inspiration, you know what I mean? Like it makes sense that if you're trying to figure out some guitar stuff or some song
Mhm.
structure that you would pull apart a prog rock band, you're looking for answers, you're preaching to the choir, or you're looking for the right response from the right people. But when you find it from another source like a Reader's Digest at 1:30 in the morning on the toilet,
Yeah,
like about an ancient civilization that transcends more so than just like trying to find your answer when you Google for it.
yeah.
And so kind of what got you into that form of like seeking in that way? Because like if we go back to the Shawns and the guitar really driven, and like that's about when I met you as a little. I met you, I think, in an in between phase, Austin. Like when you finished that, you're just wrapping up high school and trying to find yourself a little bit more.
Yeah,
Like at least that's what I gleamed from my Guitar Center counter,
that
and
is
like
that is correct. Yes, yeah.
talking about like poetry and stuff. When did like songwriting become more so of a focus than shredding?
Well, yeah, that's a good question too. I guess. Well, I got really into folk music when I was when I was a senior, junior in high school. Like I got really into the band Old Crow Medicine Show, and then for like a year, I almost didn't even play the guitar. I just tried to learn the fiddle,
Hmm.
and then I just would just carry around a fiddle with me everywhere. I didn't really even bring my guitar. I mean, I still played guitar, but I guess I just started learning other instruments, and then. Um, yeah, I guess the thing that has always really set me in like a weird. I don't know. I think words are very romantic to me, and the fact that I don't possess the words that can set my soul free necessarily, but I like to sing. I like to sing, and singing is definitely probably my favorite thing to do. I would say, and I don't know. I guess how that all panned out and what I ended up doing, though, was I was really lucky because I grew up in a Baptist church family.
Hmm.
And I grew up hearing all these old hymns, and it was just a bunch of people singing together these old iconic hymns like the Old Rugged Cross, and like all the people around you, like they weren't singers, they weren't like singing well or on key, but they were like singing like they really meant it, and it just fills you with this feeling, and yeah, I guess I can always trace it back to, I think someone asked me what my favorite song was yesterday. When I was 15, I got Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde. My dad got it at like a garage sale, and we had this record player, and I was like starting to get into collecting records, so he just bought like a big stack of records home that he got like for free or for whatever, and Blonde on Blonde was in there, and I just remember hearing Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands for the first time, and being in love with this girl in high school, and it just like filled me with this like feeling that just makes me want to cry. And so throughout various stages of my life, I've had mentors, like I went to college. I like went to community college and worked jobs, and that was when you met me, Dave. Was when I was going to community college and working a job, and I my old poetry professor Bruce Weigel really blew my mind on what writing is and what it's for and stuff like that. But he also left it free for one's character to, kind of fit into. And I just got turned on to a lot of great stuff. But then I asked Bruce one time, because Bruce always told me to ask all the novice questions to all your heroes. And I've like asked, like I've asked James McMurtry, like, how do you be a great songwriter, And but I asked the same question to Bruce one time. I was like, Bruce, how do you write great poetry? And then he looked at me, and then he like motioned with his finger in like a circle, like his like arm was like extended and his finger was pointed, and he moved his whole arm in a circle, and he said, the ragman draws circles up and down the block. And like I knew what that was from. That was Stuck Inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues Again, but like he didn't know that I knew that, and he said that, and then so it's funny, like Blonde on Blonde has like kind of followed me like throughout my growth and development into just a person. I'm just trying to be a good person and work and stuff like that, and got a lot of plans, but I ain't really worried about them. It's just like it's gonna happen when it happens. I guess 20 years from now, have a cool family, a good wife, and some good kids, and help everybody out I know, and that's pretty much what I want to do with my life.
That's beautiful. It is really fascinating that Blonde and Blonde keeps like kind of peering out and like this like kind of thing of like something that inspired you. And Dylan's deep, I mean, Dylan, like one of his records can be your life, and it's interesting that Blonde on Blonde's kind of been that for you. So when you ask that songwriter how he writes, what did he give you like I'm kind of curious just to dive into that for a second. Did he say something as profound?
Yeah, well, it was funny. I asked James McMurtry. He's like a Texas songwriter and like has toured with Townes Van Zandt, and like he's like has a lot of accolades and listen to his stuff and stuff. But I used to work at the Music Box, and I guess another thing on like the journey into what it is I'm trying to do is one time my aunt told me you should always work where you want to hang out. So then that kind of led me to working at Guitar Center, and then but I also worked a bunch of other jobs, worked at a factory for a little bit of the duct tape factory in Avon. And I was working at the Music Box, this place on the west bank of the Flats, and like all these people would just come in and tour, and it's funny because people that I met in that period of my life I still see, and so it's just funny like the friends that you make. But anyway, James McMurtry, I asked him, I was like, James, how do you write good songs? I said, do you have any advice for young songwriters? And he like looked at me, and he's like kind of a man of few words. He's like, quit if you can and pay your taxes.
That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about Townes and maybe tell the story about that jacket?
Oh wow, yeah, it's cool. That is cool that I told that to you. Yeah, so basically, when I was working, I was going to community college. I was working in libraries. I actually worked at Oberlin Library and the LC main campus library at the same time, and then was going to school. A friend of mine, Kate Kuzer, like a year or two before I would actually get into Townes, I might have been like 18, and Kate Kuzer was like, "You should listen to Townes Van Zandt." And so then I got his self-titled album, his third one. Then I got Live at the Old Quarter on CD, and I like drove to West Virginia and just listened to it. And it just like put me in this spell. And like I always feel a weird kindredness with Towns. I don't know if we're both born in March or if we're like, but he really, spoke to me in ways like, and you all know exactly how I feel. I think the spirit of Towns is very accessible, and he's all around us. He doesn't want us to throw away our lives. But basically, my style kind of changed in that way because I had grown up listening to old hymns and old folk music like the Marshall Family, and then that was where I was from. And then I kind of took all my folk and all my love of words, and I loved Towns, and I just kind of I was listening to his songs, but meanwhile, like while I was listening, I was also kind of changing the way that I played the guitar. And so then I don't know. Fast forward a few years, I finally moved to Nashville, and then I would become very close friends with his daughter, Katie Bell. Chris Fontaine and Katie Bell Van Zant are two wonderful friends, and we've been through a lot together. And so basically, I would go over to their house, and it's the house that was in the Heartworn Highways documentary film that because it was Guy Clark's house for a lot of years, and Guy gave the house to Towns whenever in like the late '80s. He gave it probably like '86 or something. And that old friends tour that they did, it's kind of infamous. Towns would always go on stage and tell Guy, be like, "Yeah, well, you." They would like just tell jokes all night, and then Guy would be like, "Yeah, well, Towns wants to die in my house." And so but then that actually did happen. I mean, it's the place that Towns passed away in, and it's a very sacred place. I almost, feel weird talking about it just because it's so like kind of under the rug. It's just things that. But I guess it's good information. But I basically, I kind of became like a part of that house, and I like fell in love in that house, and like I thought like Towns wanted me to like marry this girl, and I wanted like it's just I've been living this whole crazy life, but then I also, yeah, and then one day Katie Bell she just saw, she was just like, I want you to have this. And she gave me this jacket. It's a brown suede sport coat, kind of a dress jacket. And it was Towns's. And the story of the jacket is Towns bought it for his wife. So bought it for Katie Bell's mom, Janine. And but Towns wore it more than she did. So it's a women's coat. It's a Banana Republic coat, but I have it in my closet. It's my most prized possession. It's a thing that Towns wore a lot, and so I almost feel like I sometimes I'll get on a weird ego trip, and it'll make me feel better to know that I have like a little pillar of my influence, going with me, and I'm just really surrounded by all these people that I should be right now. And yeah, so that's the story of Coke, and I still have it, and I don't wear it a lot. I wear it like very, very sparingly. I might get it dry cleaned here soon and like put it in like a little sealed bag or something, so I can have it for like the rest of my life. So yeah.
Totally.
That's one that's fascinating just to kind of interact with like the ancestrage of someone you're moved by. I
Yeah.
mean, but to take it to the level that you have a friendship with them and have been through things with them,
Yeah.
like and like because you've been through things and the music's been there for you, so to kind
Mhm.
of be able to interact with that, like, and I know knowing you, Austin, like I know how like open and honest and pure you are with how you are and like how you share art. So
Mhm.
I'd be interested to like, do you guys make music with like, are you sharing music with you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cause I know when we talk, like we always like are sharing stuff, and you'll just jump into a song you're working on, which
Yeah.
it's like I I I always feel like it's one of the best things because that's the most Austin thing to be like you will just start singing a song you're working on, and I find that so it's such a pure intent. Like so with like when you're that close to someone who's moved you, like are you guys working on stuff like that? Are you sharing music?
Well, Yeah, basically, yeah, and it's well, Katie Bell doesn't. Katie Bell plays the spoons, and
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, she's very musical and very brilliant and very, very wonderful. And Chris, her long-term boyfriend, they've been dating for like 8 years, and I used to work construction with Chris, and
What?
so it's like, yeah, we're just like everyone's just in this whole knit thing, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful. But as far as like the music influence of those experiences, I have been in the position where something has kind of flew into my head when I was there, and it's I just feel like I have a lot of great ideas, and they're still very underdeveloped though. Like
Mm.
I have this song like "Let's Be Brothers Here" that I haven't finished yet that flew into my head when I was sitting on the porch, and then this other one called "Every Dollar Is a Vote" that I haven't quite, but I have a few lines. It's like a suit and tie costs money and publicity is funny, so let's feed it back into itself. We're backed into a corner of choices and we have to consume control. We have to throw from where we stand, so next time that money leaves your hand, think every dollar is a vote. That's like the only, but, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's
That,
amazing.
um, so like kind of like diving into like because I know you figured out a lot of guitar
Mhm.
by just following the record. With like studying writing like and songwriting like because like Gabe told me the story of you writing that song on set for the film, which
Yeah.
were like so like how often are like do you write every day? Are you writing all the time? Because my perception of even you at Guitar Center is like you're like writing as you're walking. Like I feel like, but that's my perception. What is like? Do you have a routine that you do? Do you just take everything as the moment as it comes? Because like I feel like I just how you, even now how you read that, I can hear the structure. There's alliteration in it. There's a form. I feel like like, and I'm sure you don't think of it all like that. Like it's just coming to
Mhm.
you. And most anyone who's analyzing anything is analyzing it, which is what I'm doing while trying to ask a question at the same time. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, like let me try
What?
to rephrase that to my question. So
Sure.
do you have a routine? Are you working on songwriting all the time, or are you just trying to be in this void of always being influenced?
Yeah, it's more of the void of always being influenced. In the past, and actually up until very recently, I've struggled with the pressure of time, and I've always felt like I need to be more disciplined in my writing, and I need to do it every day. I need to like
Yeah.
sit down and do that. But then it really does like take a damage on like my soul, or like I have like notebooks from those years ago and even notebooks now, like one in my guitar case just filled with things, but I don't really feel like I'll ever use them. I feel like
Hmm.
I just wrote a bunch of skin or something. And but that's also cool because I can give that notebook to somebody and maybe they'll do a co-write or something. I haven't done a lot of co-writes, but a few. But yeah, I try not to worry about it so much. I don't think it's my job. I think that my job is just to live and to have a clear conscience.
Hmm.
And so then I don't really worry about it anymore. I feel like a lot of it is just me being in my mid 20s now that, it's just, I'll have a song, and then whenever it comes time to record, that is when the lyrics are done. That's when I'll sit and think about the lyrics, and I'll be like, all right, let's edit these things, and I'll make it how I feel is right.
Right.
And so up until I really don't worry about it at all until it comes to that time. And that time is only like 2 days, like or something like before I record, or shoot 2 hours or whatever. But yeah, so it's kind of like the Christians worry about if they're saved or not. You just come to a point where you just are like, you know what, I ain't worrying about this. Like I've done cried enough about it. But writing is fun. Writing is almost like Zen. It's just a thing that you never know. Like I will never know how to write a song, but I know that in my pursuit of such, of such feelings like this, or in the pursuit of this feeling or this journey or this expression that I need to do, I'm surrounded by all of these wonderful peers and people that really give a shit about you, and you give a shit about them, and it's really cool.
Definitely. Definitely. Community is so important to nurture that, and like I find it not like I've talked with a bunch of songwriters, and like it seems like the final draft is when the song's actually done for a lot of people, which is it's inspiring. Maybe it's a musician thing, maybe it's an artist thing that wait till you have to turn it in, but also like I guess in the case of being influenced by something, that having until that last minute that have your mind like expanded on something to put it on the wax, and at least you have that time to do it. So, but I find like the community and the appreciation for it is so important, and that really nurtures where your artistic expression goes, and like being that you kind of have your roots here, and I definitely know that we have a badass community of people and creatives who are doing stuff.
Hmm.
Gabe, I feel like I cut off your question.
Oh yeah, I was gonna. Well, I had a question, and then Austin, you started talking about being saved in the Christian sense. So I have a different question. So you have that beautiful poem in the in your kind of spoken word album about
Yeah.
the guy on the Greyhound bus who gives you that pamphlet with
Yeah.
Christ on it, and it says heathen, homosexual, all these things, and then he also gives you peanut butter crackers, and you're allergic to peanuts. So you kind of equate these two things of like, oh, I'm deathly allergic to this thing, and he's also giving me this propaganda, and I think that duality of faith of being profound and also torturing is so present in
Yeah.
all your songs. I don't know if you are able to talk about that a little and like.
Yeah, totally. It's like I guess I don't feel tortured at all. Really, it's just I feel like lately I've been having a renewed faith in the story of my life. Not like I want to do great things, but it kind of puts a time sensitiveness on like how you're feeling now. If you just like think about like the story of your life and where it will go. But yeah, I just, I am who I am, but I also have, I am where I'm from. And so that story that happened to me about being on the Greyhound, I thought it was very ironic, and I thought it was very, there was a sweetness to it because the man is giving you something, this like propaganda, and then this thing that will kill you. But then also, you as the receiver are funneling that back and you're giving those crackers away to someone who was hungry. So it's like you didn't, like it wasn't for you, but it also wasn't for you to really understand, but it was for you to make the best out of this, and also like leave unscathed. And I felt like that was why I named it Salvation of Me, because that's like that's how I understand my salvation, is like I don't know the answers, I don't know anything about it, but I know that I will listen, and I will give what I can. And so I felt like that was kind of like a little cop out of like the whole narrative that the Christian, community and stuff like that. And it was very, very, very real. That actually happened. It was interesting.
Right. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was like your stage presence. So you're coming from, the Shawns, this rock and roll band, and then I've always been really impressed how much movement you can do, standing still in front, well, not standing still, but standing in front of a microphone with an acoustic guitar. You kind of do this like this stepping thing. I can't really explain it,
That
but
Jagger
Yeah.
swagger.
yeah, that Jagger kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That came from learning how to dance. Not like you really know how to dance, but So a lot of people taught me how to dance. I just kind of just learned as I went, and then somebody told me, "Oh yeah, don't forget to smile." And then I was like, "Whoa!" And I like realized like I was as I was trying to two-step, I was like too focused on like the rigidity of it. I just started to smile, and then like I just like unlocked this whole key in like my whole brain. I was like, "Whoa!" And like I started smiling, and then like before you know it, like all these other people want to dance too because they see you smiling, like making a goof out of yourself, you know. And then it's just like that's what it's all about, you know. And with playing the guitar, I play with Corey Grinder when he goes on tour, and I kind of was like, all right, like I want to dance and have that whole lesson of smiling and dancing or this thing, but I also want to like do that with like my hands, you know. So like I want to not really think about where I'm going. I just want to like dance with my hands. So I guess I don't know how I move. I just like to kind of do this kind of shuffle thing, and it feels good. It feels like you're on a wheel, you know.
That's beautiful. I remember at the mic night talking about Jagger moves. Um, you know, it's interesting because like Wooten has a bit about jazz guys not smiling, kind of like ripping their lead and like taking their bars and then just kind of walking off and kind of being like mysterious because we kind of like put that from Miles Davis or something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but that openness and that like our brains when we see someone smiling, there's like mirror neurons that are firing that want us to do it back, and we see that really profoundly with like infants. When you smile at a baby, unless you're scary looking, it smiles back. Or even if you are scary looking, most of the times the baby will smile back. And by putting that in your, I find it really profound that you're putting that with your hands too. I've never thought of it like that. That's really cool. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like to think of it that way. Like, also, I don't know. I'm just like learning a lot about because down here it's like people only know me as like a songwriter. They don't really like know me as like an electric guitar player or something. But although I have played some gigs here in town on electric, and I've like tried to do like the whole sideman thing, but it's just not really like it doesn't satisfy me in a way. But I also like a lot of people have like talked to me. They're like, you know, we really like those stories that you do, and so I don't know. I feel like it's just communicating with an audience, and so you know, it's funny when you're being so serious, but then you're actually like not being serious at all. But you are, but you're just being like humor. You just have like a natural humor, you know, and it has to emit because people want to know like who you are. They don't really like. I mean, they want to know who you are, and they want to hear like some of your songs that are like catchy and like you know lyrics or mean something. But it's like tonight I have to go play at Betty's Bar and Grill, which is this like super red pill bar, and I'm just gonna go there and like it's gonna be a good time, man. I might do some like I might try some new songs, like do like a Merle like Travis picking a little bit and just kind of add a little edge to it. It'll seam in with like stories that I'll tell. I don't know. I'm just gonna go have a good time, make sure I'm having a good time and everyone's having a good time. And gonna drink like one beer. It's gonna be really cool, man.
was it that? I mean, like that's what people are there to do, and it's reading in a room is really hard, and like delivering kind of like a monologue. Now, when you do some of the pieces that you've recorded, like do you back it up musically, or are you like, or are you just kind of going at it, reading these poems? Um, does that? I'm phrasing that question wrong. Like when you're doing a set like you're doing tonight at a bar, like
Yeah.
to do some of those monologues you have. Like I think one that's really effective as far as communicating with an audience. Do you go about backing yourself with your guitar, or do you just cut that and deliver it?
I go out back in the guitar for sure.
Okay, okay,
I haven't memorized all the way that it was recorded or how I wrote it down, you know.
right.
So I just kind of like just get into a little channel of a guitar, you know, musing, or it's usually whenever I like talk, it's a very circular pattern that I'll play. I'll play something that's just like repetitive and like doesn't really resolve, and just
Mm.
play it over and over again, and that'll allow me the space or the acuteness of mind, or as Nathaniel Hawthorne would say, the native sagacity, to just kind of go in and like reimagine these stories and I'll add little bits to it, or I'll jump one section, or it's just yeah. So it's very much a musical thing. Yeah.
Because like that record's beautiful, and how the music's delivered on the record fits the narrative so well. And like I think, especially in a bar, like the music's what's being heard. So if you
Mhm.
start talking over it, I feel like people are gonna like our brains already adapt to the form of the music, and whatever you say on it, I think is gonna be louder than if you did it without it. Like being you've been to a few of my mic nights. You know,
Yeah.
like if once the poet gets up, and if the poet's unaccompanied, like unless if it's the audience that isn't there to seek it, it doesn't get as heard. So that's why I was wondering if you backed yourself with that. And like to kind of dive into it, when you wrote the music on that record, did you have the
Mhm.
music kind of like already composed and then put the poems and like the stories on top of it, or did you do the
No.
opposite? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the music really matches the narrative on so many of those really like especially like the tonality even follows it. So like it I don't even know how you would go about recording something like that. So it's the old question, was it the lyrics or the music first in this case, but for actually recording it, which one, like what was the approach to that?
Yeah. When I did that record, I went to Asheville, North Carolina, and I stayed at my buddy Mark McElhenney's house. And he's a great pal and plays bass in Jesse and the Jinx in town. And me and my buddy Ivan are actually gonna go stay with him next weekend. But I just like went there for a week, and I was like, I'm gonna write a record from scratch. And then like the first 2 days of me being there was like me trying to write these new songs, and they were almost stylized in that way. But then I was also like reading this book of short stories by Lucia Berlin called A Manual for Cleaning Women, and because Mark's like super into like literature and he writes short stories too, and then I kind of realized like, man, like I have all these stories that I've written that are kind of like that I should probably do something with. So then I got the idea to do a short story record, and the words were all written out on the page, and I spent most of my time just compiling and like editing the stories, and then like the last like 2 days, I just like went in and just like did it all live, and I just kind of just little bits and pieces that I love about the guitar, like the weird intervals. Like I don't know like the theory behind the intervals, but I love just like the color you can get in a lot of chords. And I just did the music to whatever would fit the story, and that was how that happened. It was all live. It was really cool.
That's amazing because it fits so well, and like
Yeah.
that so kind of like I find it interesting that you're like when you put a limit on yourself, right? Like I'm gonna write this in this amount of time, and like it's the weird random sparks that change the track of the train. Like you know what I mean? Like you were going in there to write songs, and you came out writing this beautiful spoken word record. Um, like and it's hard to like get that notion and follow it. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times we get caught up in like I said I'm gonna write a record, I'm gonna write a record. You know what I mean? Like and I think it
Yeah,
takes
it's
a it
like a
sorry.
Yeah, it's like it's different than because like I'm super limited, and everyone is by like trying to be a singer songwriter. And I just kind of wanted to just do something that was just totally art. It was just art. I just wanted to make art, and that's what I did, and it was really cool. It's like my favorite thing that I've done so far, and yeah,
It's
probably do a probably do another one, but maybe I'll try to multi-track it. I don't know. I'm still kind of getting the stories rolling. I have a few stories, but they all come in time, and they all come after they happen. It's like you're thinking back like a year ago or 2 years ago or even 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And,
right. Well, it's beautiful because then it's bringing them back up. Can I pitch a title? Can it be called Still Talking?
still talking would be awesome. I like
but
that.
but where I was gonna go is like it's beautiful that you put it in the sense of like art, right? Like
Mm,
in trying to break those limits, like because we're kind of here pushing this film that like you were part of, and like so to kind of jump ship into like What was acting like for you? And Gabe, I'll let you maybe lead more questions in in that realm since you shot the film. But like, was it a big jump? Like, was it uncomfortable? Is it like performing? Like,
Well, I guess the only it's I guess I don't really know how to act or anything. I just kind of try to make it my own in ways. And Gabe was really cool with like letting me do that. Like a lot of things that I did, like were just kind of little extra things to add a little natural feel to them. But yeah, I don't know. Whenever I was up there acting for that, I was in a really good place in my life, and I was trying to like juggle a lot, and I was in this long term relationship, and it was a beautiful time in my life, and I think it was really easy. I mean, whether or not I did a good or a bad job, I mean, it's up to whoever's watching. But I felt very good about it, and it was very exciting for me. So yeah.
Yeah, you did great. Did you find any like so much of acting is rhythm, and being a musician, did that kind of like, was there a connection to you? Did you feel like it was musical at times?
Yeah, I felt I don't know, I felt like it was maybe it was less musical and it was more just kind of free verse kind of it was like a free verse kind of dream. It was just yeah, I mean thinking about it as musical, I would love to go back and to reimagine it and like get into the music of acting. Like that'd be really cool.
Right.
And I love that. And it seems like, it's all musical, but it's like has its own rhythm that's not really, like a time signature.
Yeah, yeah, you're kind of bouncing off someone else.
Yeah.
The call and response.
Hmm.
be interesting to like what a time signature of a film is, or even kind of like look at films like that. The like because it definitely it's interesting like with music theory or just like theory in general for any type of creative outlet. We put like these like explanations for why we feel things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even just written music, like in a way, having a sheet of music that's just written, right? There's exactly how I feel, and then you can know exactly how to replicate how I feel. But even like when you do that, like I don't really know how Beethoven felt, but I made the sounds he wanted. You know what I mean? Like even when the human experience, even when we have an exact transcription of how something feels, it can still be a mystery.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is tough. And a lot of my things that I don't like to do is sing old songs. I don't like that. So a lot of times, I guess here in town, I just said like if I go and play like a writer's round or something, I'm always trying to do new songs, and they might be like unfinished still. But there is an art to that, and it's like you have to like respect yourself in where you were, and you have to, like those same words that you were singing when you were 24 or 23, are very real. And although you don't feel like they're real to you now, like you should practice getting into your old frame of mind and like really, have a lot of that kind of almost like a self forgiveness or a self. It just all it makes the scope of how you think about yourself a more whole and a more round, like spherical thing.
I want to jump to the Magnolia Sessions for a minute because I've been listening to that a lot and it's so beautiful and I love how like rough it is, the recording quality, but in a beautiful way compared to Where She Will Go. Um,
Yeah.
and I love how so many of the titles and the lyrics are like almost Zen Buddhist aphorisms. Um, yeah, can you talk about that a little? Like where some of the inspiration came from, or if you were.
Yeah, I feel like my live album and then the Magnolia session would have been all the content that I would have like super honed for like a studio album, and it would have been like a really good studio album. Maybe I should like re-record those songs and just do a studio album of those songs, because a lot of like since from then until now, a lot of the words have kind of changed in what I would like to say, but yeah, the Magnolia session was a good opportunity. It was a thing that was a community that I just did the best I could, and I just tried to put all new songs on it, and I did, and it was really cool. It's a thing I really love, and a lot of the inspiration for a lot of those songs were yeah, it just came from just living. And when I first moved to Nashville, I went to the library and I got this book called The Fugitive Poets. And in Nashville, there was a big school of thought. There used to be like a journal, a creative writing journal called The Fugitive in like the 1920s and 30s. And the fugitive poets were very much like they wanted, things to be of a verse. They wanted it to be like things to rhyme. And then there was the Imagist poets that were they were like the Ezra Pound school, where it's like everything's free verse, nothing rhymes. Rhyme is holding us back from what we're trying to do. And then so I read this book or this story called The Ballad of Billy Potts, and it had that line. It was talking about an old Civil War kid that died when he was 16, and like they're just kind of looking over his grave, and they're singing this ballad for his life, and it's like, oh, poor Billy Potts, that blemish beside your heart that was nothing but your name and every bit of your luck. It's like how you died. And so I thought about that song "Every Bit of Your Luck" as like a work of that inspiration from that poem, and so I just kind of turned it into a song about like the general and universal guilt that we feel, and like it's just really where we come from. It's a nurture thing.
Do you find yourself on either more? I shouldn't say either one or other. I'm not trying to make you plant a flag. Do you find maybe more of the like imagery poetry like appeals to you, or are you more kind of into the metered kind of verse rhyme, or are you kind of a blend of both?
Blend of both. I like it
Yeah.
all. I like things to be strange and weird, and I also like I really love the craft of songwriting. Like a lot of people that I know here that I think as a mentor, they're like Noel McKay. He used to write with Guy Clark, and everything is very it's almost like he's making a canoe or something. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot that I want to do. I would love to just do some crazy record where it's just like electric guitar and like drums, like light drums and bass, and just like riff and just freaking shout and call it like Nothing's Broad Diamonds or like something crazy, or like
That'd be
like Waiting
sick.
on Earth. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't really know which way I'm gonna go, but I just love it all, man. I'm just happy to be living.
That's well, clearly, my friend. Like, if like one to kind of speak, you should do all of it. Don't limit yourself to anything. Those songs definitely are deserving of a full band version. Like,
Yeah.
and I would love some more rockin' shredding stuff from you because I know you
Yeah.
got that. And like, that's one thing that always blew my mind hanging at Guitar Center. You would come over and you would share this verse, or like I'd be reading a Saul Williams book and you'd point out a line. You're like, oh, that's fascinating. And then you would come by shredding some stuff, or you'd be doing some like Travis picking, or what's the guy, Chet Atkins stuff.
Yeah.
Especially, I remember around Christmas. I remember you were rocking like some Christmas. I can't remember what song it was, but you did some Chet Atkins rendition of it.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, I even forget what it was. It was probably just Arkansas Traveler, Chet Atkins, and I just kind of sounded Christmassy.
maybe it was that. I don't know. I don't remember. I just, because I was at
I
the.
also learned Jingle Bell Rock.
That
And I
was
was like
it. That was
trying to
it.
pick Jingle Bell Rock like a Travis style.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. We got to know though, what's the best T-Rex song off of Tanks?
Oh, dude, Left Hand Luke,
Left Hand Luke.
Hell yeah.
Left Hand Luke, dude. Every time I see Cody, like for the past like years, I've always been like, Cody, what's the best song on Tanks? And you like say something, I'll be like, nope, Left Hand Luke.
Now, when you see him on the 13th, on November 13th, you gotta be like, nope. Like if he gets it right, you gotta change it.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Every time I see him, I always like remember that. Like just like I don't even know how that happened. I think it was just we were just laughing about something one time, and it just like stuck, and it was like so funny.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Austin, I've always loved, like, no matter what, whenever we've crossed paths, you have this like enthusiasm for so much, so many beautiful things, and like, just even like to me, you'll point out two words that I would never have thought of fit together well, or even you'll find the profound something you'll find something so profound out of something I wouldn't have thought about, and then when you say it, now I'm starting to think about it, and like the enthusiasm being kind of like the 35 milligram caffeinated spike for life, and it's always hanging out and just being with you has always been like that, and just finding all this profound beauty in things maybe I wouldn't have seen, and so man, I appreciate you taking time to talk with us. Um,
Yes. I
Likewise.
had a great time. I almost feel like I'm hanging out with you guys. Can't wait to see you again.
I know it's gonna be great.
Likewise. So much love, my friend. I miss you. I'm excited for the 13th, and I'm even more excited to see the film you're in, Springfish. Like, if out of all my friends, if any of them have been thrown into an acting bit, anyone who I think's gonna kill it would be you. So I haven't
Thanks.
seen it. Gabe's seen it a lot.
Too many times. And
Yeah.
and Dave, you're in the film too. So
I know,
you
but
guys are kind of co-stars.
oh yeah, I forgot. This is our co-star film, Austin.
I love it, man. It's
Yeah.
freaking awesome. I like really, really can't wait. And if I could leave on two words of wisdom that I've been thinking about, one of them is just like a funny thing. You know, Tebbs, Stephen Tebbs Carney, the steel player in town.
Okay.
He's like one of my like. I never had an older brother. He never had a younger brother, kind of thing. But then it was he was over at Dee's Country Cocktail Lounge the other night playing with Angela Purley, and we got to just sit outside, and it was like my like close like people that I know here and like tabs. They were like trying to give me like an intervention because I've been like I was in this like kind of weird dark cloud like the past month, like going through like stuff. But then they were like, we're like worried about you, and it's just like we were talking about the like how we need to keep moving forward as people. And Tev said the sins of emission. And then I said, the sins of emission will not pass e-check. And we just like laughed so hard. We're like, add that one to the book.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
That's great.
The sins of emission will not pass e-check. But I thought it was funny. But that's just a stupid thing to say. But then also the other one is I've been really thinking about it is hope is the essence of all good men. And good men and women. But I read that in an Ethan Cannon book of short stories like about 2 months ago, and I was like really thinking about that. Like hope is the essence of all good men, and I'm very blessed to have a positive charge to myself, and I feel like as we move along, we need to find people with those similar gratitude, and like they're very grounded in who they are and like their hope for the future, and they're like people who have a good time when they go out, and and that's I don't know, I'm just happy to be part of that, and I try to do that. And I also try to think about that a lot.
I agree. I agree with that. And hope's the thing with feathers. But also like I feel like whilst you're doing that, others see that, and I know personally from knowing you that when I hang out with you, Austin, I always have a good time. And like like I was saying, you bring this enthusiasm, which is like that's the caffeine of life, like to be excited about two words fitting together for no reason. And that beauty is definitely shared. So like I think not enough people find that for themselves, and we're all looking for that. And if you can see someone who's also doing that, that kind of makes you self-reflect a little. And the fact that you're doing that, and not only doing that, but and like as an outside source, I can say you're inspiring others. It's hard for someone to really like say that for themselves, but I definitely think you're illuminating that light as well as trying to find it within yourself.
Yes. Yeah, it'll probably take my whole life.
It'll take all our whole lives, but the more we do it, the more we show that it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
We're gonna be all right, man. We're gonna all be okay.
We got this.
Yeah.
hopefully I could, hopefully today I could share a little bit of my joy and my journey thus far. And just I'm very grateful for everything, and I'm just excited about the future. And I'm not excited about the musical releases of the future. I'm just excited about the future, man. And like, just I feel very hopeful, and it's I just try to have a clear conscience. We all should, and say we're sorry, and just go on. It's pretty cool. So
Well said, my friend. Well, Austin, I love you. I'm excited to
love
see you on
you.
the 13th.
All right.
Gabe,
Yes.
any final
Excited.
thoughts?
Love you, buddy. Can't wait to see you.
Love you too.
And
Absolutely. Dave
and
and Gabe, my soul brothers and my Clash friends, because
hell
you
yeah.
never lose your Clash friends.
And Kami's here with us too in the room in a bigger tank.
Oh, awesome. Kami.
Yeah.
I love Kami. Cool, guys. Well, all right. You guys have a beautiful time. I'm going to get hosed off and go to work here. It's going to be fun. I'm going to go play at the bar later. So,
All right.
Beautiful, my friend. All right, see you soon.
okay.
See ya.
Love you. See you soon.
Love
Take
ya.
care now.
Peace.
All right.
Winchester, yeah?
He's obsessed with T-Rex, and for the longest time, I do have a couple good ones. So
All right.
which is really
Wait.
just an extension of the one good one. For the longest time,
Wait,
every
let me
time
cue
I
it
saw
up.
him,
Let me cue it up. Here's the first good one.
that was stupid. For the longest time, whenever I saw him, he would ask me. There's a T-Rex record called Tanks, which is like one or two records after Electric Warrior, which is
Yeah.
like the main record that anyone cares about from T-Rex. But there's an album called Tanks, and every time I would see him, he would ask me what the best song on Tanks was, which was a reference to a conversation that me and him had years ago where we talked about this. And I would, every time I saw him, I would forget what song he wanted me to say, and I would be like,